Okay.
Welcome everyone to the 5th episode of Hunting for Suspenders and Stilettos.
The podcast where we surf on the edges of leadership.
In other words, we talk about whatever the hell we want to about leadership.
So my name is Anne. I am French and I live in Amsterdam in the Netherlands.
And I am Huda. I am from Morocco and I live in Dubai and I'm a real citizen of the world.
I'm John and I'm in Cambridge in the UK.
And I'm Sarah and I am from Toronto in Canada, calling from Toronto. And today we are talking about leadership on vacation. Why are we talking about this? Well, we realize we are all about to take a holiday, and we realize many of our listeners, members of our community, will also be taking a break soon. And so what does that mean? We got to thinking, do we bring our leadership? We talk about all of these topics in the context of our work, leadership values, acting like a leader, leaning into our leadership. We talk about that when we're on the clock at work. How do we bring all of that wisdom, that imperfect wisdom, to holiday time, to our vacation? So the purpose was to explore that. And we thought, well, some of the benefits would be more intentionality around the holidays and a better holiday, whatever that looks like to you, whether that means more fun, more peace of mind, more joy, more celebration, whatever a better holiday means for you. So without further ado, let's dive in. And my first question for my friends here is, what does bringing leadership on vacation mean to you?
You know, Sarah, I feel like you're asking the question also the other way.
Okay.
What does bringing your leadership on vacation mean to you? What does bringing your leadership on vacation and bring it back to work as well?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, and because I love seeing what the work we do as holistic, and I use a lot of the Wheel of Life, and sometimes we learn something in one area, and then we can actually apply it to another area of your whole lives. So I love what you're referring to. And I'm so glad to that you are back with us this week, Sarah. We were really missing you last time, so that's so cool. I love that you talked about being more intentional.
Okay.
And I, because to me, it's about I am one and a person at work and the same at in my personal life, and that's. I mean, because I think I am a whole person, and of course there are like some facets that like will come up a bit more. Like for example, if I'm on an improv stage, I'm gonna be a little bit more, visible than in other places. But I love to keep this piece of connection that I have, and also the slowing down, those values that I have, or so I'm very much of a doing person, but I love the coaching piece because it helps me slowing down. And then also when I'm on holiday, I like slowing down, and connecting with my family is one of the things that I absolutely love. And so Christmas or summer for me really means a lot of connections with my family. For the Dutch people, it's the gezin in the family, so the small family, but also the larger family. Like for example, with my cousins, I love just to stay still and just speak with them.
So connection, slowing down, staying still.
Yeah.
For me, it's kind of building on values, and one of them being curiosity. As a coach, like, curiosity is so central to what we do, And I think when we go back into those environments with family, possibly with friends, where we're thrown back into old situations and environments where we got conditioned when we were younger. We got conditioned as kids and young adults to show up in a certain way and perform in a certain way, act in a certain way. That skill of curiosity, or even like way of being very, very curious, can be really powerful to bring that back into environments where we could get triggered or we could fall back into old patterns. So for me, it's something I try to bring at Christmas, is to like really be interested in what's going on for people and what people have been up to, but also what's going on in, if there is, you know, a moment that might feel difficult or awkward or triggering, to maintain that curiosity and really bring that and just be interested, put it out there, make it less about you and more about them, and be more, I love this expression, be more interested than interesting. Stop trying to show up in a certain way, trying to impress, whatever, but just be there for other people, be interested and curious about them.
I love what you're saying, because it's true in the workplace, especially for those of us who have been trained as coaches or facilitators. We've really been trained, and we refine that skill of being actively curious in conversation with our clients. And so what would it take to bring that same level of curiosity and interest and open-mindedness to our conversations with our family members, whom we might assume that we already know everything about, or we might assume, you know, how they're going to respond to things, etc. So what kind of transformational experience would that have?
Yeah, I think it's one of the ways to break out of a pattern that otherwise we would just fall into without that intentionality. We just fall back into those old patterns, and maybe those old patterns are great. So it's not to say that's not a bad thing, but if you recognize that there are patterns in those situations with your friends, family at vacation time, then bring that intention to be more curious.
And I absolutely love what you said, John, and the notion of curiosity is key to exploring, to even being, right? But then let's take it one step further, right? How can we use that curiosity to expand our horizons, expand our typical, usual ecosystems? And I'm insisting on the S because we don't belong to only one, and find interesting, juicy, golden nuggets in those, you know, explorations, in this way of looking at the world and bring it into our work, right? So I'm thinking about traveling into some exotic places, different cultures, and opening up our mind to those new cultures. Then how can we bring it, whatever learnings, insight, observations in our day-to-day, and apply them to our ecosystems, right? So it is really, so to rejoin what Anne said, for me, I don't check out my leadership or whatever is considered my leadership at the boarding gate when I take a plane, right? There is no way I carry it with me in any form or shape. And then it's really about how can we push it in that time where we are more relaxed. We have more time and more space to, again, explore it in a more intentional way, but to harness learnings and insights and bring them back into our more professional settings, I would say.
I love that metaphor. And then I'd love to hear from Sarah, that metaphor of getting on the plane, you check your luggage, and then you get to the other end and you discover your luggage has ended up in a different country. And sometimes that's what it can feel like when we go, you know, we had our luggage with us, like bringing all we know from our experiences at work, say, and how effective we are there. We've got that in our luggage, and then and then we get to the other end and find it's in a totally
Oh,
different
wow.
country.
Well, don't have that with me. But yeah, so I love what you're saying, Huda. You're really leaning into that, the benefit, the value of this curiosity. The value is expanded awareness of multiple truths, which we can bring back to our ecosystems, including our various workplace communities and beyond. And I want to tap it back to what Anne, because then you were saying, how do we do it? So I'd love to spend some time on how, like if collectively we have any tools or suggestions, because folks might be listening saying, well, that sounds great, but how do I do that? How do I stay curious when my default might be to jump to more of judgment? So I'd love to spend some time focusing on some practical how-to tips. And Anne touched on one earlier, so maybe Anne, you could build on this and then we could come up with some other ones. You talked about slowing down and this concept of staying. So maybe you could just build on that in the context of what we're talking about, like expanding perspectives within the family context.
Yeah. What I mean by I think that when we slow down, so to me, actually, I slow down much more when I'm in a coaching conversation than when I'm live, or like I have like sort of different modes. And but that this slowing down allows for listening more and listening for the different signals, the different channels. So it could be what is said, but it could be also what is felt, or also even being aware of what's happening around us, and so using that as external information, extra information. I always say to my client that I love to, if I ever have my own agenda, that I love for them to understand more about their body, and that it's an extra dictionary, and so for me it's about bringing that and bringing that with us wherever we go. And I'm not talking about being perfect, like, I mean, that is impossible. Like, I know for me, in certain specific relationship, a long-term relationship, it can be difficult, and you are triggered, and then is how can you breathe in, breathe out, and slow down to actually be more present. And I love this idea of curiosity, and to me it's very obvious. And when you just said it, I was like, yeah, I got to be more curious when I'm back home, in my hometown, like and listen more.
Yeah. Yeah. When Sarah, when you said, yeah, let's talk about how we do that, I was like, oh, gulp. How do we actually do curiosity? Well, I was thinking, like, as you were talking, Anne, listening is crucial. Like, so for me, if I realize that I am just waiting to respond, if I can bring a little bit of awareness to my own thought processes, and if as I'm listening to someone, I'm just waiting to respond, I know what they're going to say, or I don't care what they're saying, and I've got my own narrative going on that I just can't wait to get out. That is just like is such an obvious clue that I'm not being curious. So that would be my first tip on that, is to really just monitor what's happening for you. And are you just waiting to say something rather than listening to what that person's actually saying and then being curious about what they said? Maybe they said a word and you might have an assumption about what it means, but what about if you just asked, hey, when you said that, what does that word mean?
Okay, so I love this. So we're really going into the how right now, some of the tactical ways to be more curious, to practice that curiosity. So we have a bunch of listening techniques that Anne brought forward. noticing what's said, noticing what's felt in the space, noticing what's happening around us, noticing what's happening in the body. And then, John, I love what you said, and I practice this one too. Notice when you're getting into the mode of planning your responses.
Yeah.
Right. And stop yourself and just be. All right. So lots around the listening. Anything else to add to that, Huda, in terms of how you harness that curiosity?
Well, I just was doing, if you paid attention, mimicking or mirroring John. And that was a really nice way to connect with him, right? It's almost like establishing some kind of energetic bridge between us and forcing me to stay with him versus letting my mind meander wherever my thoughts want to go, or wanting to answer him, right? So that is the way. There is something else that unhighlighted, but I would like to deepen a little bit, is listening to your body, but also your body as the vessel of your emotions. Emotions are like this gold mine of information. Like for me, is the CIA database of who we are as a human being. So you just pick on one and for me, it's following that path, right? And seeing what it's going to bring us, be it when I am looking at a piece of art and connecting with that enlightenment, right? So what does that tell me? Or listening to my mother talking about old age. What does that trigger? I feel annoyed all the time. So what is it telling me, right? So, and it's coming back always to that magic wand that curiosity is, right? Why? It's our own awareness of the other, of the others, of our system, the systems around us, right? So the curiosity is the magic wand. It's that flashlight you point and you keep pointing at until you see what is behind the first layer. And it's just a way to travel the path, right? So going on a vacation with our emotions and our senses, our body telling us, so reading all these maps and making or not making sense of them, because we don't always need to make sense of things. Receiving is just as important, maybe.
So what you're saying is put the flashlight in your hand luggage.
Exactly.
Because if the rest of it gets lost, at least you've got your flashlight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bring your flashlight. Yes, I love it. And keep that connection, the self-awareness, the connection with yourself.
Huda, you got anything to add about ecosystems? How to do that? How to take the different perspectives? Or
It's exactly the same, John, right? It's putting the flashlight on what we do not see. We see the obvious, right? We all see the same things. And then what is it that we don't see, right? In an ecosystem, where is that fracture line that, where the connection, all of the sudden, connection to everything, right? To ourselves first, to others, human beings, but also to things around us. I mean, a big subject topic is sustainability, right? What are we doing for our planet? And then when you look at things, something as subtle as how much money big nations are committing to the survival of our species, because it really boils down to that, and bringing it, putting it in relation to other investments or commitments they make, that is an indication. That is an indication. So everywhere, newspapers, news in general, but observing, right? Feeling, and looking for what is not said, what is not seen, what is not obvious.
Thank you. Powerful image and metaphor to bring that flashlight with us to those, going back to our topic, to our family dinners, if we're having those, to our holiday gatherings, right? To the new environment that we're visiting or the old one that we're returning to, and looking at maybe what we don't typically look at, or what we do look at in a new way with a brighter light. So really appreciate all of the insights. And before we wrap up, I wanted to add one more leadership tool that is valuable to bring on vacation with you, and that will support all of these other awesome ideas we've been talking about: curiosity, alignment with values, looking in the dark corners with a flashlight. So the concept I want to bring forward is time management. Right? We know as leaders how important it is and how challenging it is to prioritize and to manage our calendars. And I mean that in a way that this is about self-awareness of what's most important, right? What activities are most important, and where do I want to bring my full presence? And what am I going to say yes to? And what am I going to say no to, right? This really requires like a level of self-awareness and also self-management. For example, are you going to be invited to certain places that you actually don't want to go to, and it's not going to serve you? It's actually going to, deplete you in some way. You want to say no to that? Or is there some kind of event or experience that you want to create for your holiday, because that's going to enrich you, and that's going to allow you to lean into some of these other topics we've talked about: curiosity, your values, fulfillment. So just because you have these great skills, these developed skills of managing your calendar and thinking constructively and strategically about where you spend your time, hour by hour, day by day during the work week, so too bring that same level of care to planning your time when you're off the clock, when you're not working, so that you actually have the space to be and do what you want over the holidays. So I'm going to end with that. And I'm going to wish everyone a great holiday. And may you all bring, this is our last episode for 2023, but we'll be back in 2024 for more juicy conversations. We just popped up the date of our next episode, the 8th of January, where we shall be talking about goal setting. Do we like goal setting? Do we not? We have a variety of opinions in the group. So we shall be sharing our approaches with you in early January. And in the meantime, you all bring your leadership with you on vacation, whatever that means for you, and have a good one.
Looking forward to it. Happy holidays.
Cheers.
See you. Bye.
Bye.